Hey, what's up, Bills Mafia? I'm back. Wasn't way too long there, but going back to our previews of NFL divisions, we've done the AFC and NFC North. Today we're going to do the AFC South. I'm going to write up one for the NFC South and then do that tomorrow. Um, the AFC South: the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Tennessee Titans. Um, I'm going to say this. That division is weird because it's really a division of four teams, but it's two separate categories. Well, let's start off with the Houston Texans. Last year they were 4-13, and this is a team that has not recovered from the Bill O'Brien era. He made a mess of that franchise, being the head coach and the general manager, and they basically gutted the thing. Then you had the Deshaun Watson scandal where he took a year off. It was the Bill O'Brien era, but it was really that playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs where they were way ahead. The year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they were way ahead in that game, had the Chiefs on the ropes, and let them off the hook. That was the year that the Texans beat the Bills in the playoffs. They went on then, they came back and beat the Bills. Then they went on to blow that big lead against the Kansas City Chiefs. That franchise has not been the same since. And guess what? It's not going to be the same again. Davis Mills, they're rolling out Davis Mills at quarterback again. He's not really that great. He's still a project. Their top wide receiver is Brandon Cooks, who had 90 catches last year, barely averaged 11 and a half yards a catch. That's not good if that's your top receiver. The next receiver in line last year was Nico Collins with 33 catches. You're not going to get very far if that's your offensive lineup. They've not improved offensively very much. They acquired Jerry Hughes. We love Jerry Hughes in Buffalo, but Jerry Hughes is not in Buffalo for a reason. He's over the hill. When I say he's on the downside of his career, we're talking he really should probably retire within the next year. He doesn't have anybody on the other end that's going to complement him. So, and then he's not an every down player. They also acquired Mario Addison. Good, not great. So, what are they doing in Houston? Nobody knows. I don't see very many wins for them this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel sorry for that city. Last year was a wasted year. They drafted Travis Etienne, blows the season because of the season is blown because of an injury, and then the season is further blown because their coach was awful. They finished 3-14 last year. They stunk because Urban Meyer was pathetic. I knew it was a bad hire when they did it. I don't understand, but hey, they recovered by hiring Peterson, and who's a Super Bowl winning coach. Had Nick Foles at quarterback, coached him through the playoffs, and won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He's an offensive mind. Hopefully for the Jaguars, he'll be able to help their quarterback progress. They've got some offensive weapons. They went ahead and signed Marvin Jones. They've got Marvin Jones Jr. They went ahead and signed Christian Cook. They've got Evan Ingram at tight end. And so they probably will be improved. They still got the other Josh Allen on defense. And quite frankly, they held the Bills to 3 points in a regular season game last year, so the defense can't be all that bad. So they will probably be improved, unlike the Houston Texans, who aren't going to be improved. The Jaguars should be improved just based on the fact that they have a better head coach, a more stable. Their organization seems a bit more stable this year. The next team, the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, I'm reading my notes. The Indianapolis Colts. Let me just say this about the Colts. Nobody seems to know what they're ever going to do at quarterback. They don't have a permanent solution. Andrew Luck left that franchise, and they rolled out an over-the-hill Phillip Rivers, got them to the playoffs, lost to the Bills. Then they rolled out Carson Wentz. I love Frank Reich. You got to question, though, what they're doing at quarterback. This is probably because now they rolled out Carson Wentz. I'm sorry, going back to last year, they rolled out Carson Wentz, who gets kicked out of Philadelphia, is a rotten egg in the locker room, but Frank Reich thinks he can, do something with him. And everybody was saying Carson Wentz isn't that great. He's physically gifted, but he's not a locker room guy. Why would you put him on a team that made the playoffs the year before? And it turned out he just couldn't get it done. I said last year that he couldn't get it done, and he didn't get it done. So, now what do? They go get Matt Ryan, who's another quarterback on the downside of his career. Probably an improvement over Carson Wentz, but seriously, what is your long-term solution? So I have to question Frank Reich as far as, what it is that they're doing in terms of, the long-term plan for that franchise. You see different franchises that have long-term plans that say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to rebuild this thing and keep it going. The Bills have a plan to keep it going. The Chiefs, when they brought in Andy Reid, had a plan to keep it going, not just for the short term, but for the long term. When the Patriots had Tom Brady, they had a plan for the long term, not just the short term. It's nice to win in the short term, but you're not going to win championships, which is always the goal, right? You're not going to win championships with a Phillip Rivers who never won a championship. Certainly not Carson Wentz, who couldn't even stay healthy enough, and then has never won a playoff game. I don't even think he ever played in a playoff game in Philadelphia. And now Matt Ryan, who's on the downside of his career. You're not going to win the championship with those guys. They have some offensive weapons. Taylor is a great running back. He's probably the second best running back in the league right now. You've got Mo Alley Cox at tight end. You've got Pittman at wide receiver. You've got some weapons there. You've got DeForest Buckner on defense. You've got Yannick Ngakoue on defense. Decent pass rush. They brought in Stephon Gilmore. I'm not sure where he's at in his career. He doesn't seem to be. When they brought him into Carolina last year, he didn't seem to do a whole lot there. So maybe he's not. Maybe he's on the downside of his career, just like Matt Ryan. So that being said, the Colts, who finished 9-8 last season, maybe headed for another 9-8 season. You never know. They could win 10. But I think they're headed for somewhere around a 9-8 season. Last but not least, I'm not going to say my hometown Tennessee Titans because Buffalo's my hometown, but the place where I live, the team in the place where I live right here in Nashville. Tennessee Titans had a weird off season. They had A.J. Brown. By the way, this is a team that finished with the best record in the NFL last year. or the number one seed in the, I'm sorry, not the best record in the NFL. They had the number one seed in the AFC at finishing 12-5 last year, using 90 players. 90 players played on the field for the Tennessee Titans last season. That's an NFL record, but they still finished 12-5. They lost their big running back, Derrick Henry, and still finished with them. They didn't collapse. That's why Mike Vrabel won Coach of the Year last year. I mean, just a phenomenal job there, because all they had, left really was A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill. We'll get to Ryan Tannehill in a second. But back to A.J. Brown. He's no longer in Tennessee. Contract dispute. Some words were said. They ship him off to Philadelphia during the draft. They replace him with Treylon Burks out of Arkansas in the draft, who's had a weird beginning to his Titans career so far. In training camp, he couldn't hack the program. He was throwing up in practice and being taken out of practice, not being able to handle the rigors of an NFL practice. It was rumored that there was a lot of hush-hush around what was going on with him, but it was rumored that he had an issue with his asthma, and it's very humid here in Tennessee. It's one of the biggest states in terms of allergies, so that may have had something to do with it. Things have been pretty smooth so far during training camp and during the preseason, so he will probably bounce back from that. He can be a sneaky Rookie of the Year candidate, because he's almost a literal replacement for A.J. Brown physically. So he's physically gifted, and the only other real known commodity on offense, you got Austin Hooper, tight end. They brought him in, but you've got Robert Woods, a former Bill, at the other wide receiver position. So in the passing game, those are your viable options. 3. That's it. That's all you got. Derrick Henry is back. It's not known exactly whether or not he's going to be the Derrick Henry from previous years, but it's suspected that he will be. So that I don't think is going to be an issue. That defense is stout. It was really good last year. It's probably going to be just as good this year. Jeffrey Simmons is a beast. Make no mistake. They are headed for a good season on defense. I think they're going to win this division. I don't think they're the only question that they have is Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, because Ryan Tannehill had that playoff game against Cincinnati where he threw the 3 interceptions, the last one inexplicable that led to the game-winning field goal. I've never really thought Ryan Tannehill was a franchise quarterback. I mean, at least not someone that can get you to the next level. They're going to have to do something about the quarterback position. They drafted Malik Willis. He's not a solution this year. There's a debate whether he's even going to be the backup. He probably will based on his preseason, but he's certainly not the guy right now. Ryan Tannehill's got to be the guy. He's going to be the guy this season. We'll see what happens there. This team will make the playoffs, in my opinion. They're going to win the division. But as far as what happens after that, we'll have to see. But that's it for the AFC South. Again, our next division will be the NFC South. The Buccaneers, the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. So, as always, go Bills.